If you think AWS security groups evaluate rules from top to bottom like a firewall, you're wrong. And that misconception is probably why your troubleshooting takes 3 times longer than it should. Today I'm going to show you how security groups actually work, and it's going to change how you think about AWS networking forever.
Okay, I have to admit, I definitely assumed security groups worked like traditional firewalls. I've been staring at rule order in the console thinking it mattered. So what's actually happening?
Here's the thing that surprises everyone. Security groups evaluate all rules simultaneously, not sequentially. There's no rule priority, no order of operations. AWS looks at every single rule at once and asks one simple question. Does any rule allow this traffic? If yes, it passes. If no rule matches, it's denied. That's it.
Wait, so if I have 10 inbound rules, AWS checks all 10 at the same time and just needs one match?
Exactly right. Think of it like a nightclub with 10 bouncers at the door, each holding a different guest list. You walk up, and all 10 bouncers check their lists simultaneously. If your name is on any of those lists, you're in. You don't go bouncer to bouncer hoping the first one says yes.
That actually makes sense. But here's what confuses me then. If there's no deny rules in security groups, how do I block specific traffic?
This is where security groups differ fundamentally from network ACLs. Security groups are allow only. Everything is implicitly denied unless you explicitly allow it. So you don't block traffic by adding deny rules. You block traffic by simply not allowing it. If you need explicit deny rules, that's when you use network ACLs at the subnet level, which evaluate rules in order from lowest to highest rule number.
So security groups are allow only with simultaneous evaluation, and network ACLs have both allow and deny with sequential evaluation. Got it. But what about this stateful thing I keep hearing about?
This is the part that saves you from writing twice as many rules. Security groups are stateful, meaning they automatically track connections. When you allow inbound traffic on port 443, AWS remembers that connection. The response traffic going back out is automatically permitted, even if you have 0 outbound rules that match it.
So I don't need to create an outbound rule for the response?
Correct. Let's make this concrete. Say you have a web server with an inbound rule allowing TCP port 443 from 0.0.0.0 out of 0. A client at IP 203.0.113.50 connects from their ephemeral port 52847. AWS tracks this as a connection tuple: source IP, source port, destination IP, destination port, and protocol. When your server responds back to 203.0.113.50 on port 52847, AWS sees it's part of an established connection and allows it automatically.
What happens if I do have outbound rules though? Does the stateful tracking override them?
Great question, and this trips people up. Stateful return traffic is always allowed regardless of outbound rules. Your outbound rules only affect new outbound connections your instance initiates. So if your EC2 instance needs to call an external API, you need an outbound rule for that. But responses to inbound requests? Handled automatically.
I think I see a common mistake here. People probably add unnecessary outbound rules for response traffic.
All the time. I see security groups with outbound rules like allow TCP 1024 to 65535 to 0.0.0.0 out of 0 because someone thought they needed to permit response traffic on ephemeral ports. That rule is doing nothing for responses. It's just opening up your instance to initiate connections to any high port anywhere on the internet. Completely unnecessary and potentially risky.
What about the other direction? If my instance makes an outbound API call, does the response come back automatically?
Yes, stateful tracking works both directions. If you allow outbound HTTPS to an API endpoint, the response packets coming back inbound are automatically permitted. You don't need an inbound rule for them. The connection tracking handles it.
Let me make sure I've got this. Security groups evaluate all rules at once. Any match means allow, no match means deny. They're stateful, so responses are automatic. And this is different from network ACLs, which are stateless and sequential.
Perfect summary. One pro tip before we wrap up. In the VPC flow logs, you can actually see this stateful behavior in action. Accepted traffic shows the initial connection, and you won't see separate log entries for the tracked return traffic being evaluated. If you're troubleshooting and see traffic rejected, that should be part of an established connection. That's a sign something else is blocking it, probably a network ACL, not your security group.
This completely changes how I'll troubleshoot. Instead of checking rule order, I just need to ask, is there any rule that allows this specific traffic?
Exactly. Go into your AWS console right now, look at your security groups, And I guarantee you'll find at least one unnecessary rule that exists because someone didn't understand stateful tracking. Clean those up, simplify your security posture, and you'll thank yourself during your next incident response.